Guterres has condemned the acts of violence against foreign nationals in South Africa. This follows the violence and the looting of shops owned by foreign nationals in some parts of Gauteng over the past few days. But for more on what is happening at the African Union, let us now touch base with our correspondent from Ethiopia, Coletta Wanjohi. Coletta, good afternoon to you and thank you so much for coming through. We've seen and heard condemnations from all walks of life, really. What is the African Union saying regarding what's happened here in South Africa?
Well, the African Union has spoken out, and the African Union chairperson, Musa Faki Mahamat, removed a statement as of yesterday saying that he's saddened by the issues that are happening in South Africa. However, he was also quick to say that he has faith in the South African government, that it will ensure that peace and order returns so that the other African nationals who are living in South Africa do not feel like they're neglected and all that. So the African Union has said that it is also ready to offer support to South Africa in case of need. So it has condemned as well as supported South Africa in the current efforts that is happening in terms of maintaining peace and order.
All right. So if I hear correctly, you say that the African Union has just offered support to South Africa if needed. Are they perhaps going to do anything to ensure that member countries are able to deal with these xenophobic attacks?
Exactly. The African Union, I was speaking to the spokesperson of the African Union chair today, Eba Kalondo, and she said that the African Union is discouraging the word reiteration. I mean, if we use the word that other African countries are going to reiterate, that means that it's much a bigger picture than what is happening right now. So the African Union is trying to encourage other African member states to look at this on a case-to-case basis and to allow South Africa to first do its investigations instead of just concluding that these are xenophobic attacks and all that. So the African Union is reminding the African countries that there is an aspect of solidarity within the continent that needs to be respected. And it's also reminding the other African countries that this could be different cases that could be handled on a case-to-case basis instead of clouding the whole issue as xenophobia or deciding to reiterate. So the African Union is telling other member states to step back and wait and give South Africa a chance to speak out on the issue and to try and solve the issues within its own sovereign boundaries before, making conclusions. And with that, that's why the African Union is telling South Africa that we are ready to assist, and that assistance will be confined within what South Africa will suggest as measures that should be taken to ensure that peace returns.
And Africa Free Trade Area Agreement calls for the free movement of goods and people. Is this possible in light of all these developments and South Africans really failing to accept their fellow brothers and sisters from other African countries?
Out here, from the African Union perspective, it holds South Africa with really, at a really high esteem, with much respect. And the same aspect that the African Union has been saying that South Africa is looked at as other African nations, as a country that has put up the African brand in so many ways, in terms of peacekeeping, for example, in Burundi, in South Sudan, in terms of assisting in other issues. So South Africa has a name in the continent, and it cannot, and that's why the African Union is saying these are just incidents. They can be termed as incidents and not things that can be branded on the country South Africa. So with the CFTA coming into place, yes, South Africa will be able to participate, and yes, other African countries will be able to also trade with South Africa in that open African market that is supposed to be brought out by the CFTA, because there will be rules and regulations that will be put at continental level as well as national level to ensure that things like taxation, things like entry and exit are all put, and each country gets not to feel like it has been misused, but will also be able to be at par with other African countries. So these are just incidents that will not affect the continental free trade area.
Yeah, we've seen countries like Nigeria retaliating. Yesterday, shops were looted belonging to South Africa as well. And a number of countries really withdrawing from the World Economic Forum on Africa currently taking place in Cape Town. Zambia has cancelled a friendly match against Bafana that was scheduled for Saturday. All right. No, it looks like we've lost that connection from our correspondent in Ethiopia, Coletta Wanjohi, giving us a reaction from the African Union really on the latest developments, the attacks on foreign nationals here in South Africa, saying that The African Union really holds South Africa in high regard, and they believe that the South African government will be able to resolve the issues, and saying that they will be able to offer support where it is needed.